So I'm currently trying to extend my ability to feel like I'm able to do other tasks before I go to work. Right now, I'm going to work at 11 a.m. on a lot of days of the week. So getting up at a reasonable time, 8 a.m., lots of times I've been getting up at 7 a.m., where I have 3.5 hours, where that seems like a lot of time, but it can easily slip away from me because it feels like I have a lot of time. It doesn't feel like a traditional morning because, 9 a.m. is a very, 8 or 9 a.m. is a very classic time, and I'm never up early enough to feel like I could have gone for a walk or a run. Like I could have gone out, grabbed breakfast. I could have done and run an errand. I could have started a load of laundry and put it in the dryer, and the dryer could almost be done by now, even, right? Oh shit, I'm like, damn, I was gonna unload the dishwasher, fuck. And I've been lollygagging so much that I use coming on here making videos as a way to reset myself, to say, hey, boom, chakara, look back at me. Hey guys, it feels more tangible. It's like journaling, right? It's like journaling is journaling because it's like static. Like it feels that way. I mean, it's like, what if you just journaled with a stick in a big flat pile of sand and you just wrote out the stuff, but you just keep writing over it, or the wind would take it, or it's hard to just talk aloud into the void, right? So there's a reason for, what am I even saying? There's a reason for? In my journal, I'd go, in here, I can go back into the editing after I've recorded this and edit out this part where I messed up. But in my life, the parts where I've messed up is a part of what makes me when I feel good. And I learned this lesson from freestyle rapping ever since I was a teenager, where I mess up or I say something wrong or I couldn't find the word in time. And inherently, for a long time, I would then create the next sentence or two to then be like, oh, I almost had the line. I meant to say test, but instead I only said webs. I would just start to try to explain, to feel like the moment was ruined. I didn't always feel like I could roll with the punches because I wasn't happy with how that punch was, or I got hit. I'm like, I want a do-over. I could have done it better. And it's like, I get that. A lot of the shit of my life is seeing people who are writers, who are editing, who are, I don't know, it's like this stuff being like, man, I need to learn how to edit. I'm limited. I need to learn how to play an instrument. I'm limited. And I've spent my whole life telling myself that I'm limited, while in the act of doing that, accessing a type of expansion that allows me to get out of my own way in these certain situations. Already, I've been recording for 4 minutes. I'm like, shit, what time is it? Bro, I now have 36 minutes before I have to leave. And so, yes, I have a couple of things to do. I got to put on socks. I'm going to change out of this hoodie and put on a cardigan, my more professional garb. And it's like I'm waiting for someone else's permission to allow myself to be full of flaws and mess, and allow the mess to be swept back in to be a part of the painting. I can learn a lot from painters. I don't look at a canvas the way a painter looks at a canvas, in the same way that I don't look at a 5-minute container for me to talk about being frustrated with how I've spent my morning, or how it feels to be like not able to sit still or relax into something. And the more that I sit here and I'm sit on this nice cushion, I'm right on the floor in my living room with a cloudy day, but I'm right in front of the back door and the sun looks great on my freaking body. And I'm like, yo, I can talk and find love for me. I just gotta hop on the treadmill. I'm gonna hop on the treadmill. I don't really know. It's like, in saying that, and this is like what I do for everything. I say that and then I'm like, well, but that's not all it takes. Well, but you probably should have already bought the right equipment, better equipment. You probably should have spent other time doing this. You probably should quit with the video games. It's like, I'm not even talking about that shit. And there's this heavy cloud of self-doubt that exists, climbing and creeping and injecting itself into the way I see myself. It's like I'm not ever looking back. I'm not ever looking at me back in a mirror, right? It's like I'm primed to be subconsciously scanning where I am and what I'm up to. And I'm just realizing that, like, this like interrupted this flow that I'm like, wow, I wouldn't be able to access this moment. Lane just left for work and I have like 45 minutes after she leaves before I leave. And I'm like, yeah, if she was here, I would be, and I'm like, and being alone is a different thing. I can go upstairs and close the door. It's like, and I'm like, man, I wouldn't be able to be sitting here in my dining room next to the back door with complete freedom without any type of self-consciousness, worried about anyone hearing me except for the camera that I'm gonna post so that anyone can hear me. But I don't want the person standing right there, who also is my best friend, to hear me. Because when that's happening, I'm feeling like, what am I sharing? Is Lane judging me? And it's like, I know that she wouldn't be judging me for what I'm saying here, but I might be saying other different shit. And then we can come to this, oh yeah, well, we perform for the different people in our lives. My boss, my mom, my grandpa, my sisters, the cashier, you know, my partner, my friend from college, who I don't really talk to. There's a million people I don't talk to anymore. There's not a lot of people that I was ever really talking to. A lot of the time, I just happened to be in school my whole life until I was 22, 21. So there was just a lot of people to talk to. I wasn't keeping up with anyone. Friendships were made via proximity, and I know that that's what life is, but my alarm just went off, reminding me that I have 30 minutes, so it cut the video. And I'm like, wow, yeah. God damn it. I'm rushed. I'm freaking out. My life is spinning out of control. But there's also a part of me where it's like, sometimes in a different period of my life, I'd be waking up right now, 30 minutes before work, or before I had to leave work for work, you know? And that's fine too. And so I'm like, and this is the thing. I need to reset here, okay? This is the thing. This is the thing. Are you fucking serious? I thought about, oh my God, this next epiphany is going to be probably good for its own video. And so I jerked myself away from the thought I was actually having to try and reset. And I did this. Why? For myself as an editor later. I need to stop fucking... I've been looking for years at so much like self-help shit. So much, here's how to create content. Here's how to set a content posting schedule. Here's how to make one long-form video podcast and turn it into a week's worth of short-form posts. I don't give a fuck about that. I have no expectation of myself for doing that type of thing. But it like exists in this like dream part of my brain where I think to myself, if I actually spent hours and hours a lot of the time on doing that, what could happen? It's like the inherent truth of that is that I would be spending a lot more time listening to myself and also creating stuff. Part of the beauty for me about creating stuff is that I find real value in it when I listen back to it myself later on. I feel like the same will be true with this video. None of it is, I'm not worried about and so then it's like this dream part, if I worked really hard and tried to make money and build an audience on YouTube or whatever, or anything like that in that vicinity, because, and this is like what I've been my whole life, where it's like, I'm not gonna try because I'm afraid that I would break the illusion that I have of myself, that if I were to try, I would succeed. But I'm not really trying, and so I feel down about myself. But I keep making up these stories about how it's not the right time for me. And I'm like, yeah. About trying, not for succeeding. Being like, oh, I just can't try right now. And I'm like, I'm the youngest, I'm like the freest I'm ever gonna be. And my habitual comfort with pushing the idea of my ideals down the road, it feels so comfortable. It's a type of immaturity. It's a type of immaturity. And I don't want to, and I am looking at it, but I don't want to look at it in the eye of being like, wow, I actually might be really immature. Because I've been stifling myself with being a stoner and getting high on the very, very, very regular all the time for many, 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 many years. And I'm like, there are consequences to that. And it's like, I don't even want to acknowledge the impact of that because I don't like to think about it, because there's still a big part of me, and it's still very fresh, that I'm still not owning that as an identity. It's a part of who I chose to be in my head at 16 when I started becoming a stoner, where that created this trend of prioritizing getting high over my family, my friends, the opportunities in education and career. I was like, pfft. And I just glommed on to this idea that it's really cool to not try and to just cheat and get by and have a really chill time. And I know I've talked about this before, but it comes up in this context of me being down on myself because I'm finding it hard to hold this type of cognitive dissonance of who I believe myself to be. And I'm okay with breaking down who I have thought I am, because I'm recognizing as I become more and more sober, as the months go by, I'm 3.5 months sober. 2.5 months sober. 2.5 months sober. I was just doing the half a month wrong. Yeah. It's good. Thinking about sobriety. I also just ditched the nicotine vape. I was really starting in like early 2021. I started picking up the nicotine vapes, and it's a pacifier, dude. It's an adult pacifier. And that vapor, it's like heated up and it's like vapor. And you're like, and what I didn't think about is like it goes into your lungs and it immediately cools down because it's not heating up anymore. It's now inside your body. And it just turns to just that liquid. It's just like a gnarly liquid. Juice, sticky fluids that's coating the inside of my lungs. And I'm like not chill with that, bro. So it's been hard, but yet it's kind of been nice in a way, because I had some months of sobriety earlier in the year, and I started smoking in secret. And it's some shit where that's how I started smoking at 16. Bitch, I had to be in secret. So secretizing it is so normal to me that, and yet Lane is sober because she has CHS, cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, and her body rejects the THC. And she was in the hospital many times for it. And so she is over a year sober now. And I hid it from her, and it was just this thing where it was like, oh my, like the honesty. I'm like, honesty. I'm like, I grew up in a house of lies my whole life. So honesty feels a little bit harder to me. And I've been a stoner in all the adulthoodness of my life, I've been a stoner until now, bro. So let's fucking have some grace. For those of you that may not know, which is probably all of you, Lane and I have a joke when we say grace. Give myself some grace. Because we met and kind of fell in love with a third person. We met as a throuple with Grace. And we were all kind of dating, and it was a little bit long distance, and I was with Grace for a few months, and I moved in with Lane, and then Grace came and visited, and Grace was going to move out here and then move up to Washington, and then she just ghosted. I think she was scared of what an open, honest, vulnerable, real, heart-to-heart, best friendship relationship was going to mean. What she might have realized she was going to have to face about herself And I don't know this to be true, but imagine this. It's only a couple of months. It was a short fling, but we all fell in love. We were all really into each other. We talked about finding a place for the three of us to live. And she just never picks up the phone ever again. She just never picked up the phone ever again. So anyway, give myself some grace for the difficulties I'm in, the way that Bitch, I do not have to be posting anything. Are you kidding me? It's all good. And it feels as if the act of me taking away that pressure fills me up with a little bit more energy to initiate the doing of it. And that's exciting too. So I'm gonna go do the rest of my morning routine, make a little lunch, and get out of here. I'll see you guys later. Stream of conscious West. Ooh.